Hello everyone, I'm Michael, and today, I'm going to tell you a story. What is your sexual fantasy that will remain a fantasy? Story 1. Being able to go to some private cabin rental where my wife and I could live completely naked and have sex whenever we wanted, could swim in a pool, hot tub for a week or so. My husband and I did this for our honeymoon. Rented an Airbnb for a long weekend and only packed 2 pairs of clothes for when we went to the store for stuff to grill. It was on a private lake in southern Illinois, and the closest neighbor was 3 miles away. Nothing compares to waking up, having sex while the oven is preheating, then taking a morning hot tub time together while the cinnamon rolls are baking. 10/10 recommend. Story 2. Having sex while hundreds of people watch. I had a dream about that when I was much younger, and the thought of it turned me on so much. People keep saying I could post a video online, but in my fantasy, it's me having sex while people watch live. Almost like in a theater setting. In my dream, we were in a glass box with a curtain that rose to reveal us fucking. Everyone watched as if it were a theatrical event. It also had a very secret society, eyes wide shut quality about it. Story 3. Blowjobs. Did all kind of debauchery in bed. Dildos, anal plugs, softcorbism. But when it comes to blowjobs, she just won't do it, says she doesn't like it. I respect my woman and her likes and dislikes in sex, but since this is the first and only real relationship I got ever since I was 19, 25 now, getting a BJ is just this fantasy for me. For those that says penetrative is best, I can't really comment in this matter since that's all I got, and you all know that sometimes the thing that you can't do or get makes you crave for it even more. Guess that's just me, Omeo. Story 4. We meet at a bar and start chatting. It's a little flirty, and we start getting a bit tipsy. I happen to have some coke, and I offer her some. We go up to the bathrooms and duck into a cubicle. I plonk down my Mickey card, the only thing it's useful for, and start tapping some of the nose candy out onto it. As I'm dividing up lines, we start chatting about how long it's been since we've done lines off the back of a toilet. I take the first one. You never know with new people, they could be one of those lovable fools who forgets to exhale before putting their face to the goods and send it flying. I pass her the note, while I internally laugh at myself for being old enough to afford being young. When she's done, she passes me back the tenner I've had in my wallet for 3 months without anywhere to use it. She says she needs to pee and I go to unlock the cubicle door. No, stay here. I won't take long. She unfastens her belt and lifts the seat. I turn away and pretend to be really interested in the graffiti on the back of the door. You can watch if you like. I turn around and lock eyes with hers, and her face forms a sly smile. The trickle slows, and she reaches for some toilet paper. Oh fuck, they're out. Her eyes show a slight hint of panic. I should have checked, and then I could have done a clean one. I'm too lost in the moment to know what to do or how to respond. How much do you like that shirt? What do I? She grabs my wrist and pulls it down between her legs. When we get back to the table, we can accidentally spill some beer on it, and she wipes my sleeve across her vulva and pushes my arm back towards me. As she stands and returns her jeans back to their normal position, I stare transfixed and the wet smear on my sleeve. She flushes and says, "Let's get that beer." After getting our next round and returning to the table, she catches me again transfixed at my sleeve. She takes a sip and casually says, "Dare you taste it?" I'm not sure what came over me, but I brought it to my mouth and sucked the moisture dry. I don't know what I was expecting, but it didn't taste bad at all. I look back towards the woman. I feel a new intimate connection to and find her eyes wide and mouth slightly curled up in the corner. At least you didn't need to waste any beer. We finish that round and head back up for another line. Sorry, I think I've broken the seal. I need to go again. She hurriedly lifts the lid, drops her jeans, and takes a seat. As soon as she starts peeing, she remembers, oh fuck. No toilet paper. I suspect she didn't really forget, but then again neither did I. She finishes up and motions for my arm. I'm not letting you ruin both of my sleeves. I tell her coyly. Fine, and she stands up and maneuvers around me. Sit, and she pushes me down onto the toilet seat. With her jeans still around her ankles, she shakes one leg free and shuffles over my lap. I can't go back out like this, and she gestures her eyes towards her exposed crotch now inches from my face. No, that would be unacceptable. Would the lady be interested in a cleaning service? Yes, she would be. I lean forward staring at the few droplets of pee clinging to her labia for a moment. before running my flattened tongue over her from perineum to hood. The same taste from my sleeve hit the middle of my tongue and spread over my mouth. I made another pass, this time hardening my tongue to get a deeper clean between her labia and brushed her clitoris. She puts a firm hand on my head and pulls back. That will do, unless you want more to clean up. She pulls up her jeans and does up her belt. She straddles me again, this time sitting on my lap, and cups my face in her hands. You can sample my other flavors later. And kisses me? Story 5. My fantasy is being ringside, while my partner, who I consider to be the sexiest woman in the world, boxes naked, except for boxing gloves and boots, a much bigger, muscular, professional male opponent. He is a violent, misogynistic puss. He tries to humiliate, bully, mock, body shame and intimidate her, finally threatening to sexually assault her after brutally beating and knocking her out. She giggles at him. What he doesn't realize is that she possesses supernatural strength and boxing skills. Boxing ultra macho, aggressive, woman haters also sexually arouses her, and she always orgasms when delivering her alpha male opponent his final, bloody TKO. Once the fight begins, he is at first unwillingly aroused as she shapes up with playfully seductive and sexy confidence. Then he's surprised by the power of her first punches. Then he is furious with rage and humiliation, fighting her with all his anger. Finally, he realizes his impotence and is horrified as he is brutally bloodied and beaten by a naked, smaller, but far more powerful woman. His emasculation is complete as she climaxes, while pommeling him senseless. After the fight, back in the locker room, the champ receives her prize from the only man lucky enough to ever give her a licking, and the heart-pounding she loves, me. I once had a dream where I made love with the physical embodiment of the ocean. She wrapped me in her waves and covered me with her foam, totally beyond my understanding. I would have happily drowned in her, but she pushed me back to shore by the end and left me stones of 5 colors. Also, she spoke Spanish, or some dream version of it. I never came so hard in all my life, like my legs were full of batteries. By far the most intense dream I've ever had, and it'll never happen again. Story 6. Being taken against a wall of an upscale performing arts center by my so who's wearing a tux while I wear a fancy dress. Or being teased and felt up in the back of an Uber or limo in the same garb following such an event. And of course an all-night fuckfest that leaves our bedroom looking as if a windstorm blew through it and our bodies completely sore and worn out. Naturally, a 2B2C would be great. Or B2C. Story 7. Threesomes. I was given the opportunity to be in one recently, but the thought of it just seemed weird. My ex and her so were also the ones offering, so that may have been an attributing factor. Threesomes don't have to remain a forever fantasy. If you find a partner who is a little bit open-minded, and the two of you are able to communicate clearly, there's lots of people you'll find willing to partake in that fantasy. Me and my wife have done several threesomes with women, and just at the New Year's after party had 2 different options for a muff adventure. Wasn't the right moment, but I'm sure it'll happen sometime in the future. As a tip, try to explore what each wants to get out of that fantasy. It's very easy to assume that the thing that sticks out to you is also what the other finds arousing. But I've found that with us, that is very often not necessarily the case. But those differences can coexist very easily. It just helps that we understand them, or can explore them after we found it turned us on. In the beginning of our relationship, I wouldn't have been open to a muff threesome because I would be worried about sharing something so precious with another man, and playing into this whole cuckold fantasy some people have. No shaming, just not for me. But over time, it has become more of a fantasy of mine to share her with people close to me because of how awesome and sexy she is, which is what turns her on in our threesomes as well. Story 8. I break into Tiffany's at midnight. Do I go for the vault? No, I go for the chandelier. It's priceless. As I'm taking it down, a woman catches me. She tells me to stop. It's her father's business. She's Tiffany. I say no. We make love all night. In the morning, the cops come and I escape in one of their uniforms. I tell her to meet me in Mexico, but I go to Canada. I don't trust her. Besides, I like the cold. 30 years later, I get a postcard. I have a son, and he's the chief of police. This is where the story gets interesting. I tell Tiffany to meet me by the Trocadero in Paris. She's been waiting for me all these years. She's never taken another lover. I don't care. I don't show up. I go to Berlin. That's where I stash the chandelier.